sure I mute that because I don't want to listen to myself twice. All right. Hello, everybody.
Go ahead. It's live streaming now.
Yes. Yep. Hello, everybody. My name is Jared Weathers. Welcome to the channel. Today we have Andrew. Andrew, how are you?
I'm good. By the way, let me tell you, Jared, that I'm not a person who has a problem with differences.
Okay.
Whatever a person thinks or says, I listen to it and I weigh it, and I don't think I have all the answers. So therefore, I would rather listen to other people and what they say. I really don't have a problem with differences or different ideas or different religions for that matter. I have no issue with it.
Good. I'm the same way. I don't pretend to, be all knowing or anything, and I do like to hear different opinions. Whether I agree with it or not.
You can always learn from a different opinion.
That's true. That is true.
If you're willing to listen, you may modify your opinion and have a better perspective.
I agree.
Thought process,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Definitely.
So what do you want? Let's take them one by one. What do you want to do?
Okay. Let's start with the Jesus one first because I'm kind of interested in that one.
Okay.
I'll let you start.
Well, a lot of people to talk about Jesus, it presents a problem because if you try to understand Jesus and what he presents, and you don't think in the possibility of a world beyond this world, or of thinking beyond our present thinking, you don't think of those possibilities, and that goes for miracles. If you don't believe in the possibility of something occurring, it's not quite in your range of thinking, then you're going to waste your time with Jesus or what he has to say. That's one factor. And also, what you really have to do with Jesus is read what is reported, what he said. Not many people will say, well, maybe those people who reported it weren't telling the truth, or they were mixed up, or they were confused, or they were whatever we want to say about it. But you have to deal with Jesus. You have to deal with two things, I think. Number one, you have to deal with the possibility of a supernatural realm. If you don't think that's possible, then you will have nothing. Then you will waste your time in trying to grasp what Jesus presents. I'm not saying you have to believe it. I don't say that. But I'm saying that unless you can come to the point of thinking that there's something beyond this world, then you will not be in a position to understand what Jesus says. The second thing about Jesus that you have to really look into is his moral statements. Some of them, these statements are extremely radical. Not only are they radical, they are very, very difficult to fulfill. Let me look at a couple of them, of these very radical statements. One of them is the beginning point of the radical Jesus. I call this the radical or revolutionary Jesus. Jesus is not, and he is not a person that people may like. Matter of fact, they may dislike him in the things he says. He may present a problem in the things he says. Let me look at some examples of the type of things he says. All right, say, love your neighbor as yourself. That is a beginning point of an extremely difficult demand. By your neighbor, he means anybody, okay? And we have to try to understand what he is talking about in this statement to tell us to love our neighbor. Remember what does he mean by love? Does he mean by sexual love? Does he mean by some other kind of love? What is he talking about? What is he referring to in telling us to love other people? That's the first point. What is this love? What is the nature of it? I say it's an extremely difficult statement to understand. I think it's very difficult. And then he says even more crazy, I think, in his statement. He says even more insanity. First of all, in the statements of Jesus, you could conclude he was crazy. You could conclude that. That's a legitimate conclusion. But the second thing is about first when you figured out what he means by love, with the more insane and difficult nature of this statement is love this person as yourself. That is very difficult because he is telling. What does he mean by loving ourselves? I mean, does he really mean we should love ourselves? I don't. I mean, we should love other people, I think, who are suffering or have difficulty. If you can understand what is meant by love, the beginning point is, can you understand what he means by love? That's the first thing. What is this love all about? Most people, let me say, Jared, most people, when they think about love, let's say what they think about. They think about sexual love, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time. But there are many, many kinds of love, aren't there? There's the love of our children. That's one kind of love. There's the love of animals, dogs, cats. That's another kind of love. There's the love of our parents. That's another kind of love. These are all varieties of love. And therefore, the confusion arises in this statement, loving your neighbor as yourself, that we limit ourselves to the sexual definition of love. Or maybe a better way to put it is the romantic definition of love. That's a very limited vision in terms of, I think, Jared, what do you think? That is a very limited definition of love, correct?
Yeah, I agree.
For example, friends. Having a friend can be a kind of love.
Hmm.
That's another kind of love. So, but which one was Jesus talking about? I don't know what he was talking. I don't know. I can't say that I can love anybody that I don't know. How can you love someone? This command to love your neighbor. I don't think I can do it. Could you? Do you
Yeah.
really feel that you can love somebody else you don't know?
Yes, 100%.
You think you can do it?
Yep, I do. I love everyone.
That's good. So I want to understand your perspective that you love everyone. Tell me what you mean by that.
Unless someone gives me a reason to not like them or not love them, I just kind of open my heart to everybody, no matter what.
In other words, you're saying that person has to give you a basis for not liking them.
Yes.
But many people, let me tell you this about, you know this better than me, Jared, that many people don't like other people for no reason at all.
Yeah.
It could be the way they dress, right?
Right.
It could be how they look.
Yep.
Many people in our society judge people on how, don't many people make a judgment about people on liking or disliking them on their looks and dress?
Yeah, I get that a lot, actually. So
what do you think of that? That I personally detest it. Judging someone on their looks and dress. I don't like it.
I think it's a misguided or oversight of a lot of people's I guess basis for liking somebody. Like I don't judge anybody on how they look or how they dress. They have to, like I said, they have to give me a reason to judge them or not like them.
So you do not dislike someone who's messy?
No.
Will you talk to them?
Of course.
So you do not dislike someone who is not good looking?
Right.
But many people, that person, if they want to have a relationship with anybody, it's got to be good looking, right?
That is a very common sentiment. Yes.
Do you think that applies to both women and men? That women go for looks and men go for looks?
Yeah, equally.
Do you think it's a mistake
To go for looks? Yeah, 100%.
So, but on the other hand, it's a fact, Jared. You tell me if you agree with this. It's a fact that um, our first impressions about people determine if we. Let me put it this way: our first impressions about, which is based on looks and clothes,
Mhm.
our first impressions determine do we on for many people determine whether they like them or not.
Yes,
You
that
agree
that
with
is
that?
true. It does happen.
Do you feel what then? What? Let me ask you this, Jared, because I gotta get your thoughts on this. What is our world gonna do with ugly, not so good looking, messy, dirty people? What is our world gonna do with those people?
What should they do or what will they do?
What will they do? What should they do? And what will they do?
I don't think they should do anything that would affect them in a negative way, like not like like being like mean to them or something. But they probably won't have a lot of friends, unfortunately, because people first impressions are everything to a lot of people, and I think that's really sad, honestly.
So I think it's a good point. First impressions are very important to many people, but the fact of the matter is that realistically, Jared, you tell me if you think I'm right or wrong. Realistically, these people are outcasts.
They are, yeah, yeah,
So that person who wears a dirty shirt and who's dirty and not good looking and ugly, that person will not be given entrance to many places, right?
right.
You have a problem with that?
I have a huge problem with that. Yeah.
I do too, because first of all, let me tell you something about homeless people. Where I live in New York City, there's a lot of homeless people.
Mhm.
I talk to them. I'll tell you, Jared, they're very nice people.
Yeah.
They really are. Now, why they're also you can't make a judgment on a person being homeless because there could be many reasons for anybody being messy or homeless or whatever. It could be they lost their job,
Mhm.
right? It's
Yeah.
possible, isn't it? It
Yeah.
could be they have a mental problem, a
Yep.
mental illness. It could be they prefer living on the street and being messy. Could be they prefer that
Yep.
they're in society. They don't fit in with our view of who people should be in our society, right?
Yeah.
They may not be comfortable in the regular society.
Right.
So I agree with you, Jared, that I detest judging people on the basis of them being not well dressed
Mhm.
or not so good looking or whatever. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think not so good looking people, particularly women, not so good looking women, let me focus on that. I'm not making a sexist statement because I don't think that way. Do
Okay.
you believe that not so good looking women have a hard time
Hard time with like finding someone to
with
like be
finding
with,
someone,
or
or they are not guys are not gonna like them?
I it really depends, I guess, because I've seen guys that I uh were like, oh, this guy is naturally, he's a pretty attractive guy. Be with some women that I'm like that I personally don't find attractive. Um, and I thought that was odd. So I guess it really depends on on how they look.
Well, let's take one quality that our society, in a woman particularly, with a man too,
Hmm.
finds particularly, many people find particular turnoff. That is fat. Be someone
Yes.
who is very fat. A woman who is very fat. A guy, I guess it's the same. It might be the same, but not as much. Isn't being fat for a woman the kiss of death for getting a guy?
I would say like over a certain point, yes, but for the most part, if it's not like super big, I don't think so. No.
You think fat, ugly people can get their mate?
To a certain point, yeah, yeah, definitely.
Let me give you another factor. I'm glad to talk to you about this because these things bother me. Another factor where people judge people and find them wanting is they don't have money.
Mhm.
I don't agree with that. See, I don't agree with that. I don't judge people on their wealth or even on their education or on being smart. Do you judge people? Do they have to be smart?
No, no, not at all.
But do you think some people make that the benchmark? Education and being smart.
Yes, yes, very much. I know a lot of people I don't think I'm very smart, but I've been told I'm smart and I don't act like it. And I mean, I have a lot of friends that
Mm-hmm.
don't really think of me as that way. Um,
I
so
think you're
yeah,
smart. You're
I
smart enough.
thank you. Uh, so I to me it doesn't matter if we can have a good conversation. I will be your friend and I'll talk to you. But we have to have a good conversation.
That's true. The key is you got to talk to the person.
That's right.
So unless you, so if you're going to make a judgment, they're stupid